Hello, welcome to Bowie News and Views. I'm John Rouse. Bert Oliver is away this week, so I'm filling in. And our guest today is, I don't want to say an historic relic of Bowie, but he's certainly one of Bowie's pioneers. He's been around for about 1 million years, and I don't think anyone who's lived in Bowie for the last 4 decades has not seen a sign on Route 450 that says, Melvin Motors. Welcome, Danny. It's nice to see you.
Thanks very much for asking me. I appreciate it.
It's been a while since I've seen you. I think I saw you when my wife had bought the Altima down
Altima?
there.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
But you have lived here for the duration.
Yeah, I've been here. I'll be 70 years old in October, and I've been here since I was 6 years old. Thank you.
You're aging well.
Appreciate it. Your diplomacy is outstanding.
Not everyone thinks that.
No, I've been here a long time. I have. I was talking to somebody just recently, and we were talking about Route 197 and the old Bel Air Pond.
Yeah.
And I was saying, well, back in 1958, 59, 197 was gravel.
That's right.
From 450, well, it was 50 then, up to 301. And they said, no. I said, yeah. It was gravel. So I've been here a long time along with the gravel. So.
And your dad opened the business in 46?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Place was, he bought the business where we are now actually in 52. So we've been at that location since 52, but he opened his business up in 46 in Prince George's County.
Wow. Yeah. I remember Hayden. He was a member of the Kiwanis Club. You never did join the Kiwanis Club.
I didn't, no. I was involved in some other things, but...
Well, all he wanted to do was play cards anyway.
They played cards at Bel Air Engineering with all the guys. Oh, dear. Yeah, they did. He loved cards, and the group with him did. They played every month down there.
And, of course, we had your baby boy on here a couple of weeks ago.
I understand Mark was on. In fact, I saw some of the clips. On YouTube, I guess it was. I got him off of, and I think Mark enjoyed himself very much.
He did a good job.
Well, thank you.
And you were chamber president at one time.
Yeah, I was, back in 1990.
Back in 1990?
Yeah. Our good friend Betsy Burian was my executive director, as you well know. And I was very, very lucky in having her, and she's a wonderful person. In fact, I saw her at Mark's when he was sworn in recently, and she's still just the same as she was before.
Oh, she's great. We have her on the board of this entity, Bowie Community Media Corp, and she's great. God, I've known Betsy too since forever.
I know.
Well, as a long timer, I'm going to call on your memory. Bowie, well, what's left of it.
That's right.
Okay. Bowie has changed. I mean, in the years, you've lived here longer than I have. I've only been here since about 70.
Right.
But what were there, about 400 people here when you first lived?
When we first moved in, of course, there was no Bel Air. It was all Bel Air Stud Farm.
Yeah.
The main population was in Old Bowie, Huntington.
Yeah, that's right.
And it was all country. It was a lot of old estates, a lot of old plantations.
Were there really?
Yes. Some beautiful old homes, big, large old homes that had, for the most part, but not in every case, were basically walked away from.
Why was that?
I think they got too big to heat, and they started just to deteriorate. Next to where our business is, where it's Fairwood North now.
Yeah.
There was a beautiful old home, but it was built on the ironstone foundation instead of a really solid foundation. So as the house got older, it settled, and it was when you walked inside, the floors were buckled. Yeah, and it probably was just taking too much and too large a home to try to put a new foundation under, and it just eventually some kids got in there and burned it down.
Yeah,
I guess it was in the 70s, but there were a lot of beautiful old homes, beautiful old estates. It was very, very different.
Yeah, I just can't visualize Bowie at that time, especially in the 50s, before Levitt came in. And
it was much like if you go down into Virginia in the Hunt Country, it's much like that.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yes, it was. Very, very much like that.
And what was the attitude of the people who lived here when Levitt came?
I think there was, for the most part, anticipation. I think people were, for the most part, were excited. There were some people that didn't like the fact it was going to be developed heavily. But I think overall the percentages were higher on approval than disapproval. Yeah. It was something that was it was a big deal.
Oh, it was a huge deal.
Yes, it was.
Levittown, New York, and then Levittown, Bowie. Of course, he called it what, Bel Air at Bowie or something?
Bel Air at Bowie. Yeah, we had to annex, Bowie into it because at the time everything on the south side of what was then Route 50 is now 450.
Yeah.
Was Mitchellville.
Oh,
so
that's right.
Almost everything in 2/3 of what is now Bel Air Bowie was Mitchellville.
Yeah.
And that took some time, and that created some problems for some people. Because Mitchellville was essentially a post office at the railroad tracks, right there in the heart of tobacco country. And there's a school and a post office, and a couple of houses, and that was it. There was no town as such.
Jeez.
But but it got done, and then the excitement started. All the subcontractors started coming in, and that was very exciting. I mean, for us, I was just into the business then, just out of college, out of the Army. And there was no, MVA was in, at that time was in Baltimore. It moved to Glen Burnie. There were no substations around, so everything had to go to Glen Burnie to get your tags and title. And so I was running a tag and title service back and forth from the lot. And when tags would come up for renewal, I'd come back onto the lot with all these tags, boxes of tags.
Yeah.
And I'd have people standing out of that little office we had, and I'd go out onto the deck and start calling out names, handing tags out, to people that had ordered tags through us to avoid having to go up there. It was neat. It was fun.
And the politics at that time was a little bit different.
Yeah, that's very true. You had a lot of the very old machines, if you want to call them that were in
That's
power.
a kind word.
Now, I don't think they were as bad as a lot of people thought they were, but they were, the people for the most part were gentlemen. They dealt with you on a gentlemanly basis, but they had power. And of course, when the new people came in, there was a change of venue from the standpoint of the new people wanted to get involved in politics. They wanted to get some power as well. So we had a little bit of a tete-a-tete on the political end there for a while.
Yeah.
My dad was, he was 4 terms past president of the 14th District Democratic Club.
Is that right?
Yeah, at McNamara's Barn.
McNamara's Barn, oh gosh.
And Louis Goldstein and all the politicians, came through there. Steny Hoyer, who seems to be our congressman for life, who has done a really good job for this county. Yeah. He was just a young guy. He was, as I recall, in the state senate or the
state. He was. I think he started out in the House.
In the House, yeah. But he was involved. I mean, all those politicians that was involved with because of the Democratic Club.
Yeah.
And
well, it was all Democrats.
It sure was. It still is, for that matter.
And
so.
even when I came down here, even as late as 1970, there was a terrible racial overtone.
That may have been your perception. I never really saw much of that.
I think it developed over school busing especially.
The school busing, now that's a whole different story. That created a lot of animosity, and that animosity in the people that are still left here is still there to a point. It's not the fact that it was black and white. The fact was the kids were being bused out of Bowie to other jurisdictions, and the neighborhood school system was starting to fall apart. Yeah. And that led to a lot of people moving to Calvert County, Charles County, Anne Arundel County, and that sort of thing.
Do you remember Rennie Johnson? He used to run PGP?
Yes.
Well, he was right next to our old office in Bowie Plaza, and I came parading in. We were both ex-Air Force, so we had that sort of mutual acquaintance. We used to go out to the, what the hell do you call it? Bowling Air Force Base used to have this great happy hour. Martinis for $1.
You tell secrets.
Yeah. At any rate, I came down and bold-facedly liberal from Connecticut. You've commented on that in the past. Wrote an editorial totally supporting busing. And oh my God, I thought they were going to run me out of town.
Yeah, in a perfect world, it would have been fine.
That was the old Bowie News.
the Bowie News.
Yeah.
It was the News,
the Blade,
and News Express.
News Express, and then Rose, somebody or other, had the pink paper, the Le Fameux Journal.
I've forgotten. I remember it was not the paper. I've forgotten the particulars on that.
News Express was right above
J-Mart.
J-Mart. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Bob Reed.
Bob Reed ran the Blade.
Okay, yeah.
He was also ex-Air Force, but he was a little bit too right-wing for me.
But anyway, yeah, the busing was definitely a big negative from the standpoint of this of the city being solidified. It drove some wedges in there.
Oh, it did.
And that was tough.
All of a sudden, Crofton popped up.
Yeah. Well, you had the judge up in Baltimore. I'm trying to remember his name now. You might remember him. That Kaufman.
Kaufman, that's right.
Yeah. That pretty much ruled the roost on that, and a lot of people felt that
excuse me,
a judge that handled it should have been a judge that was more familiar with the community and more understanding of what was going on, and try to figure some other way of doing it rather than what they did. But it was cut down a line through the center of the community, and we were getting kids in that weren't part of the community. We're sending kids out that were part of the community. There was some good and some bad to that, but overall, we got through it. We're still here.
What schools did you go to?
Well, when we got down here, my mom's Catholic, my dad was Methodist and a Presbyterian, and so my parents wanted us to go to parochial school. That was a challenge because there were no parochial schools in this area at all. So my mom got in a car and she drove down through Landover Hills, Lanham, which was very rural then, Hyattsville, Mount Rainier. She finally got down to North Capitol and K Street, St. Aloysius, which is between Gonzaga and at the time Notre Dame Catholic schools. And so second grade, I went to second grade at St. Aloysius and all the way through.
Oh, okay.
My dad would take us in the morning, my mom would pick us up in the afternoon, and then I went to Gonzaga for a year, really a great school. I didn't care for it, and I transferred to DeMatha and finished at DeMatha. And then I went to Mount St. Mary's up in Emmitsburg. So I was sort of Catholic raised. Yes,
you are indeed. No Bowie High School.
No. Now my kids both went through.
What year did they build Bowie High? It was pretty late.
Wow.
Do you remember?
I remember it going up. I want to say it was in the late 60s, but I could be wrong.
You could be right.
I'm not positive.
You could be right.
But Joan and I sent Mark and Michelle to Yorktown Elementary.
There you go.
And they went to Ogle, the middle school. And then Mark went to DeMatha and Michelle went to Seton. So.
Well, my son went to Bowie High.
Bowie High, great school.
He and Geraldine, the famous Geraldine.
See a few signs around.
Yeah. Yeah, right. They were in the same class, 1982.
Good.
So my son's older than yours by a few years.
Mark is as a sideline here, and we're talking about Bowie and all.
Yeah.
My son's very social, and he had a lot of friends at Bowie High, and that was a tough thing for him to not go to Bowie High when he went to DeMatha. He ended up loving DeMatha, but
a lot of people from here go to DeMatha.
He liked Bowie High so much. They had their 20th reunion, I guess it was, and he went to their reunion.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. In fact, he got a couple of his buddies that had graduated that weren't going to go.
That's cool.
And he said, "We had a great time, Dad. We had a great time." So he could relate to all the guys and girls over there. He had a lot of friends there. Good school.
Well, Biscontini probably was the principal at first, and then John Hagan I thought was principal for life.
Yeah, John Hagan was there a long time and a very good principal, very active in the community.
He was an excellent principal.
Yeah.
And a nice guy. Died recently, I guess.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, that's a shame.
Yes.
But the changes that you've seen, Danny, over all these years, you're not going to tell me, you can't tell me with a straight face that the community's improving for the better.